India History, 1971-1991, Political Turmoil, Emergency and Road to Reforms. Introduction. By 1971, India had emerged victorious in the Bangladesh Liberation War. Prime Minister Indira Gandhi stood tall on the world stage, hailed as a decisive leader. But with victory came new challenges: poverty, inflation, political unrest, and the pressure of governing a young democracy of hundreds of millions. The period from 1971 to 1991 would test India's political system like never before. It was an age of turbulence, marked by the declaration of emergency, the assassination of Indira Gandhi, terrorism in Punjab, and the assassination of Rajiv Gandhi. Yet it was also an era that set India on the path to economic reforms that would change its future forever. The aftermath of 1971 victory. After the 1971 Bangladesh War, Indira Gandhi was celebrated as the Iron Lady of India. She was admired for her courage and leadership. India signed the Shimla Agreement 1972 with Pakistan, establishing a framework for peaceful relations. The Indian Army's success boosted national pride, but soon economic problems began to overshadow political triumphs. Economic and social crisis. The 1970s were tough for ordinary Indians. Global oil prices rose sharply after the 1973 oil crisis. Inflation in India skyrocketed and essential goods became expensive. Unemployment and poverty deepened, creating frustration among the youth. Indira Gandhi responded with the slogan, "Garibi Hatao," remove poverty. But real change was slow and dissatisfaction grew. The emergency, 1975-1977. The turning point came in 1975. Opposition leader Jayaprakash Narayan led mass protests against corruption and rising prices. In June 1975, the Allahabad High Court found Indira Gandhi guilty of electoral malpractice and declared her election invalid. Instead of resigning, Indira Gandhi declared a national emergency on 25 June 1975. During the emergency, fundamental rights were suspended. Political opponents, including Atal Bihari Vajpayee and L.K. Advani, were jailed. The press was censored. Controversial. Policies like forced sterilization were carried out under Sanjay Gandhi's influence. Though Indira argued it was necessary to stabilize the country, critics saw it as authoritarian rule. The 1977 elections and fall of Indira. In 1977, Indira Gandhi lifted the emergency and called for elections. To her shock, the people voted her out of power. The Janata Party, a coalition of opposition groups, won, and Morarji Desai became Prime Minister. For the first time, Congress was defeated at the national level. However, the Janata government soon collapsed due to internal conflicts. This instability paved the way for Indira's return and growing tensions. In 1980, Indira Gandhi returned as Prime Minister. But India was entering a troubled decade. Punjab saw rising tensions as Sikh leader Jarnail Singh Bhindranwale and others demanded greater autonomy. Militancy and violence increased. Indira Gandhi responded with Operation Blue Star in June 1984, ordering the army to flush out militants hiding in the Golden Temple, the holiest Sikh shrine. While the operation succeeded militarily, it deeply hurt Sikh sentiment's assassination of Indira Gandhi, 1984. On 31 October 1984, Indira Gandhi was assassinated by her own Sikh bodyguards in retaliation for Operation Blue Star. Her death shocked the nation. In the aftermath, horrific anti-Sikh riots erupted in Delhi and other cities, killing thousands of innocent Sikhs. India had lost one of its most powerful leaders, and the nation was plunged into grief and anger. The rise of Rajiv Gandhi after Indira's death, her son Rajiv Gandhi became Prime Minister. A former pilot with little political experience, Rajiv brought a modern vision. He emphasized technology, computers and telecommunications, laying the foundation for India's IT revolution. He signed peace accords in Assam and Mizoram to resolve regional conflicts. However, his government was soon marred by corruption scandals like the Bofors scandal, damaging his clean image. Challenges. Of the 1980s were marked by multiple crises. Punjab insurgency worsened, with terrorism claiming thousands of lives. In Sri Lanka, India intervened with the Indian Peacekeeping Force, IPKF, in 1987, which turned unpopular. Communal riots and caste conflicts added to instability. Despite Rajiv's modernization efforts, India's political and social fabric remained strained. Assassination of Rajiv Gandhi, 1991. In May 1991, while campaigning for elections, Rajiv Gandhi was assassinated by a suicide bomber from the Liberation Tigers of Tamil Eelam, LTTE, a Sri Lankan militant group. India was once again in mourning, having lost another prime minister to violence. The road to liberalization. By 1991, India's economy was in crisis. Foreign exchange reserves had fallen dangerously low. The government was near bankruptcy, forced to pledge gold to secure loans. Inflation and unemployment were rising. This crisis set the stage for economic reforms under Finance Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh and Prime Minister P.V. Narasimha Rao. The reforms of 1991, liberalization, privatization and globalization would transform India's economy in the next era. Conclusion. The period 1971-1991 was one of the most dramatic in India's history. It saw the emergency, a test of democracy. The tragic assassinations of Indira and Rajiv Gandhi, the rise of terrorism, communal tensions, and political instability. Yet, it also marked the beginning of modernization and the push towards economic Part 4, India History. 1991, present, reforms, growth and rise as a global power. Introduction. In 1991, India stood at a crossroads. The nation was facing its worst economic crisis since independence. Foreign reserves had dropped so low that India could barely pay for 2 weeks of imports. The government was forced to pledge gold to secure emergency loans. Yet, from this crisis came a turning point. Under Prime Minister P.V. Narasimha Rao and Finance Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh, India launched sweeping economic reforms that transformed its destiny. Over the next 3 decades, India would emerge as one of the fastest-growing economies, a global technology hub, and a rising power in world politics. This is the story of India's transformation from 1991 to the present day, a journey of challenges, opportunities, and ambition. The 1991 economic reforms. The economic crisis of 1991 forced bold action. The government introduced policies of LPG, liberalization, privatization, and globalization. Trade barriers were reduced, allowing foreign goods and companies into India. State-owned industries were privatized. The Indian rupee was devalued to encourage exports. Restrictions on businesses were relaxed, ending the old license Raj. These reforms opened India's economy to the world. Slowly but surely, a new era of growth began. The rise of information technology. One of the biggest success stories of post-reform India was the IT revolution. Cities like Bangalore, Hyderabad and Pune became centers of software development. Companies such as Infosys, Wipro and TCS grew into global giants. Millions of educated Indians found new jobs in technology, outsourcing, and call centers. By the 2000s, India had become known as the back office of the political shifts in the 1990s. The 1990s also saw major changes in Indian politics. The dominance of the Congress Party weakened. Coalition governments became common. The Bharatiya Janata Party, BJP, rose as a strong national force. In 1998, BJP leader Atal Bihari Vajpayee became Prime Minister. His government conducted nuclear tests at Pokhran in the same year, declaring India as a nuclear power. Despite sanctions from Western countries, Vajpayee's leadership strengthened India's global standing. Kargil War, 1999. In 1999, India faced the Kargil conflict when Pakistani soldiers and militants occupied positions on the Indian side of the line of control in Kashmir. The Indian Army launched Operation Vijay to reclaim the territory. After intense battles, India emerged victorious. The war boosted national pride and Vajpayee's popularity. The 2000s, growth and challenges. The 2000s were a decade of rapid growth. India's GDP grew at an average of 7 to 9% annually. A growing middle class enjoyed better jobs, consumer goods, and rising incomes. Mobile phones, internet, and satellite television spread across the country. But the era also had challenges. 2001, Gujarat earthquake killed thousands. 2002, Gujarat riots created communal tensions. 2008, Mumbai terrorist attacks, 26/11, shocked the nation, killing over 170 people. UPA government, 2004-2014. In 2004, Congress returned to power under Manmohan Singh as Prime Minister. Singh continued pro-growth policies while focusing on social welfare. Programs like MGNREGA, Rural Job Guarantee, and Right to Education were launched. The economy boomed, and India became one of the fastest-growing economies. However, the later years of UPA were overshadowed by corruption scandals, such as the 2G spectrum scam and Commonwealth Games scam, leading to the rise of Narendra Modi, 2014 present. In 2014, Narendra Modi led the BJP to a historic victory, becoming Prime Minister. Modi promised development, good governance, and a strong India. Initiatives like Make in India, Digital India, Swachh Bharat, and Startup India were launched. The Goods and Services Tax, GST, created a unified tax system. Modi also pursued an active foreign policy, strengthening ties with the US, Europe, and Asia. In 2019, Modi was re-elected with an even larger mandate. Key events under Modi's leadership. 2016 demonetization. Old 500 and 1,000 rupee notes were banned to fight black money. The move was controversial and had mixed results. 2019 abrogation of Article 370. Special status of Jammu and Kashmir was revoked, making it a union territory. 2020 COVID-19 pandemic. India faced severe challenges but also became a major producer of vaccines. Border tensions with China in Ladakh highlighted security challenges. India's global rise. Today, India is seen as a rising global power. It is among the top 5 economies in the world. India is a leader in space technology, with ISRO's Chandrayaan-3 mission to the Moon in 2023 marking historic success. The country plays a key role in G20, BRICS, and UN peacekeeping. Its large youth population and growing industries make it a hub of innovation. Challenges ahead. Despite progress, India faces challenges. Poverty and inequality still affect millions. Farmers' protests highlight agricultural struggles. Environmental issues like pollution and climate change threaten development. Political polarization and religious tensions test India's unity. Conclusion. From the crisis of 1991 to the global ambitions of the present day, India has come a long way. Its economy has grown from struggling survival to global strength. Its democracy has survived coalition politics, crises, and challenges. India has emerged as a country with aspirations to be a world leader in the 21st century. The story of modern India is one of resilience, transformation, and ambition, a journey that continues today, shaping the future of not just a nation, but the entire world.
1947-1950, Birth of a Nation. Introduction. On the midnight of August 15, 1947, the world witnessed the birth of a new nation, India. After almost 200 years of British colonial rule, India finally woke up to freedom. The moment was historic, emotional, and filled with both joy and tragedy. Crowds cheered Jai Hind, tricolor flags were raised across the country, and leaders promised a future of hope. But this freedom also came at a cost: the Partition of India, which created Pakistan and left millions displaced. This is the story of India's first steps as a free nation, a journey from the trauma of partition to the drafting of its constitution and becoming the Republic of India in 1950. The midnight hour. As the clock struck 12 on August 15, 1947, Jawaharlal Nehru, India's first prime minister, delivered his famous Tryst with Destiny speech in Parliament. He spoke of the long struggle for freedom and the responsibilities of nation-building. Across the country, celebrations erupted, but the reality outside Delhi was far more complex. Nearly 15 million people were forced to migrate across the new borders of India and Pakistan. Violence between Hindus, Muslims, and Sikhs claimed around 1 million lives. Trains full of refugees crossed borders, often arriving with only corpses inside. India was free, but its birth was soaked in blood. The challenge of partition. Partition left India with enormous problems. Refugees, millions of Hindus and Sikhs came to India from Pakistan. Camps were set up in Delhi, Punjab, and Bengal to provide food and shelter. Communal riots. Cities like Lahore, Amritsar, and Calcutta burned in religious violence. Kashmir. Issue. The princely state of Jammu and Kashmir became a flashpoint. In October 1947, tribal forces backed by Pakistan invaded Kashmir. The ruler, Maharaja Hari Singh, signed the Instrument of Accession, making Kashmir part of India. The First Indo-Pak War had begun. Nehru took the issue to the United Nations, which called for a ceasefire in 1949. This marked the beginning of the long, unresolved Kashmir conflict. Integration of princely states. At the time of independence, India was not one united country. Instead, there were British Indian provinces directly ruled by the British, 565 princely states ruled by kings, nawabs, and maharajas. Some states willingly joined India, but others resisted. The credit of unifying India goes to Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, India's deputy prime minister and home minister, often called the Iron Man of India. Hyderabad, ruled by the Nizam, refused to join. In 1948, Indian forces launched Operation Polo and merged Hyderabad into India. Junagadh, a small state in Gujarat with a Muslim ruler and Hindu majority, also tried to join Pakistan. A plebiscite was held, and the people voted overwhelmingly to join India. By 1950, almost all princely states were integrated, creating a unified India. This was one of the greatest achievements in India's early years. The Constitution of India freedom was not enough. India needed a system to govern itself. In 1946, even before independence, a constituent assembly was formed to draft a new constitution. The chairman of the drafting committee was Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. The assembly debated issues like fundamental rights, the structure of government, and equality for all citizens. After 2 years, 11 months, and 18 days of discussion, the final constitution was adopted on 26th of November 1949. On 26th of January 1950, India became the Republic of India. This date was chosen to honor the Purna Swaraj Declaration of 1930. Dr. Rajendra Prasad became the first president of India. The constitution made India a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic. Guaranteed fundamental rights to every citizen, freedom of speech, equality, and the right to education. It was one of the most detailed and progressive constitutions in the world. Leadership and Nehru's vision. In these early years, India's leadership mattered greatly. Jawaharlal Nehru, as the first prime minister, laid down the foundations. Democracy. Despite poverty and illiteracy, India adopted universal adult franchise, giving every citizen the right to vote. Economic planning. The first 5-year sale. Plan 1951 to 56 focused on agriculture, dams, and community development. Foreign policy. Nehru championed the idea of non-alignment, refusing to join either the US or Soviet blocs during the Cold War. Nehru's vision was to create a modern, secular and democratic India. His policies shaped the identity of the new republic. Challenges of a new nation. Between 1947 and 1950, India faced enormous challenges. Poverty and hunger. Years of colonial exploitation had left India poor. Food shortages were common. Communal tensions. Partition scars remained fresh and riots occasionally broke out. Language issue. India had dozens of major languages. The Constituent Assembly had to carefully balance Hindi, English, and regional languages. Military conflicts. The First Kashmir War tested India's army, but despite all these struggles, India remained united and democratic. Conclusion. The years 1947 to 1950 were perhaps the most crucial in India's history. In just 3 years, the nation won independence, but endured partition. Faced war over Kashmir. Integrated hundreds of princely states. Drafted and adopted one of the world's greatest constitutions. Declared itself a republic. India had survived its birth pains. The foundation was laid. The journey ahead of building industry, fighting poverty, facing wars, and rising on the global stage was only beginning. As Prime Minister Nehru had said, the service of India means the service of the millions who suffer. It means ending poverty, ignorance, disease, and inequality of 1950-1971, building a nation and facing wars. Introduction. By 1950, India had taken its first breath as a republic. A new constitution, a democratic system, and a fresh hope for the future had been established. But freedom was only the beginning. The real challenge lay in shaping a modern nation. From the 1950s to 1971, India faced enormous challenges: poverty, food shortages, language tensions, and wars with its neighbors. Yet, it was also a period of nation-building, economic planning, and the emergence of India as a voice on the global stage. This part of India's journey is a story of resilience, struggle, and determination. Democracy in action. In 1951-52, India held its first general elections. It was the largest democratic exercise in history at that time. 173 million people were eligible to vote. Despite widespread poverty and illiteracy, the elections were conducted peacefully. The Indian National Congress, led by Jawaharlal Nehru, won a massive majority. This proved that democracy could work in a diverse, developing country. Unlike many new nations that turned to dictatorship, India chose the ballot. Economic planning and development. India was poor and underdeveloped. Nehru believed in a mixed economy, combining private enterprise with strong state control. The Planning Commission was set up to design 5-year plans. First 5-year plan, 1951 to 56, focused on agriculture, dams, and irrigation. The Pakra Nangal Dam became a symbol of New India. Second Five-Year Plan, 1956-61, designed by economist P.C. Mahalanobis, this focused on heavy industries like steel and coal. India aimed to build a modern industrial base, but slow growth and dependence on food imports remained a problem. The language issue. India was a land of many languages. The question arose, which language should unite India? The constitution had recognized Hindi as the official language, but English was to continue for 15 years. In the 1960s, protests broke out in Tamil Nadu against the imposition of Hindi. To maintain unity, the government decided to continue English alongside Hindi. This compromise prevented a national crisis, showing India's strength in diversity. Foreign policy and non-alignment. Jawaharlal Nehru gave India a strong international identity. India became a leader of the non-aligned movement, NAM, choosing not to join either the American or Soviet camp during the Cold War. Nehru was respected worldwide as a statesman who spoke for peace, anti-colonialism, and cooperation among developing nations. But India's foreign policy ideals would soon be tested on the battlefield. The Sino-Indian War, 1962. India's first major military setback came in 1962, during the war with China. The border dispute over Aksai Chin and Arunachal Pradesh escalated. China launched a surprise attack in October 1962. Indian forces were unprepared, poorly equipped, and suffered heavy losses. The war shocked the nation. Nehru, once full of confidence, was deeply shaken. India realized the urgent need to modernize its defense forces. The death of Nehru and political change in 1964, Jawaharlal Nehru passed away. His death left India without its founding leader. Lal Bahadur Shastri became prime minister. Though soft-spoken, he was firm and decisive. His slogan, Jai Jawan, Jai Kisan, Hail the Soldier, Hail the Farmer, inspired the nation to focus on defense and agriculture. But soon, another war tested India's resilience. The Indo-Pak War of 1965. The conflict over Kashmir reignited in 1965, when Pakistan launched Operation Gibraltar, sending infiltrators into Kashmir. Fierce battles took place along the western border. The Indian Army and Air Force fought bravely, capturing key territories. The war ended in a stalemate with the Tashkent Agreement, mediated by the Soviet Union. Sadly, shortly after the agreement, Prime Minister Shastri died in Tashkent in January 1966. His sudden death shocked the nation. The rise of Indira Gandhi. After Shastri's death, Indira Gandhi, daughter of Nehru, became prime minister in 1966. Many thought she would be a weak leader, but she proved otherwise. India faced severe food shortages. Indira launched the Green Revolution, introducing high-yield seeds, fertilizers, and irrigation. This transformed India from a food-deficient nation to self-sufficiency in grains. She took bold decisions, nationalizing major banks to bring financial control under the government. Indira's leadership style was strong, and she soon emerged as one of India's most powerful leaders. The Indo-Pak War of 1971 and birth of Bangladesh. The biggest event of this era came in 1971, during the Bangladesh Liberation War. In East Pakistan, now Bangladesh, millions protested against political discrimination by West Pakistan. The Pakistani army launched Operation Searchlight, killing thousands in Dhaka and across East Pakistan. Around 10 million refugees fled to India. India, under Indira Gandhi, supported the Bengali freedom struggle. In December 1971, after Pakistan launched airstrikes on Indian bases, war broke out. The Indian Army, Navy, and Air Force fought a 13-day war. On 16 December 1971, Pakistani forces in East Pakistan surrendered to India in Dhaka. A new nation, Bangladesh, was born. This was one of India's greatest military victories and established Indira Gandhi as a global leader. India in 1971, a new identity. By 1971, India had proved the strength of its democracy through multiple elections, achieved food security with the Green Revolution, strengthened its military after wars with China and Pakistan, emerged as a decisive power in South Asia after creating Bangladesh. But challenges remained. Poverty, unemployment, and political tensions were growing. The next decade would bring both triumphs and crises. Conclusion. The years 1950-1971 were the testing ground of India's democracy. The nation faced wars, food crises, and leadership changes. Yet India not only survived, it grew stronger. From Nehru's vision of a modern democratic India, to Shastri's call for courage and farming, to Indira Gandhi's bold leadership in the 1971 war. This was the period that cemented India's place on the world stage.